Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get started in about 7 minutes, but I have brought some goodies along. If you'd like them, if you've not already been back there, feel free to go back and take what you'd like. Get started in 7 minutes.
Mark, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Gary Duty.
Okay, Gary.
So I'm the president of the astronomy club here.
Oh, good.
And we talk about NASA items all the
Oh,
time.
good.
We have a person that does very similar to what you're doing today. They always give an update of all the NASA ongoing mission statuses.
Someone within your group or something? Okay, good.
Someone that just keeps tabs on it.
Okay, all right, good.
But I don't know how big of a crowd you need in order to make your time worthwhile, but I would love to have you come talk at the astronomy club.
Yeah, sometime. I will. It doesn't matter. 2 people, 100 people, doesn't matter to me. So if you want to give me your contact information or something, then we can set up a date that's convenient.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can, do you have a pen here?
I don't have a pen.
I could call you or you could call me, either way.
So I've got my phone on a YouTube live stream.
Let's wait till after.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Stop and see me and jot down your number.
Awesome.
Okay. Nice meeting you.
I'm very happy that you
All right.
came.
Thanks. You might know Derek Demeter from Seminole State.
I know Derek.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't been in a while, but I was a member of the CFIS for many years back, about around COVID kind of changed things a little bit.
I know you're going to be talking at the Clock Tower Gardens.
Yes.
And I think Derek is too.
Yes, he is. Yeah. Okay. Good.
And I'll see you there too.
Okay.
Maybe,
okay.
I'd love to go to that as long as I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. All right.
Thanks for coming.
All right. Yeah. See me afterwards. Yes. Good morning or good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I heard good stories about your upcoming talk.
Okay. Good. Glad to have you here.
We have a little astronomy club, and my friend Gary is the president of that. We're doing good things.
Good. Yeah, he asked if I could come out and talk. I said, sure, absolutely. So,
yeah,
fantastic. All right. Nice meeting you.
Remember, you have to turn yourself on.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Yep. Got lots of technology going on here.
So I wanted to remind
thank you. Yeah.
So that
I don't forget.
When you start, turn it on. Give it a second or two.
Okay.
To connect.
Okay.
And then give your speech.
Okay.
Whatever you want.
Okay. Good. Thank you for your assistance.
I'll help as much as possible.
I don't know if you can do this for me or not.
What is that?
NASA likes to have a few pictures of the event, and I can't take pictures while I'm doing the event. Do you have no camera? You don't have a camera? Okay, that's okay. Do you happen to know anyone here that? No. Okay.
I work pretty much,
On your own.
in the
Yeah,
back of
back at the scene.
everything.
Okay. Okay. Maybe I'll find someone with a phone and ask them if they would do it. How you doing?
Good, thanks. How you doing?
Good. I got a request. I see you sitting in the back. Would it be possible for you to take a couple pictures for me? NASA likes pictures of the events that we put on, and I can't be doing this and that at the same time. I can't have any faces showing except for me because they have very strict guidelines. So if you could just take a couple pictures from the back, and then afterwards come up and see me, and then we can transfer them or tell you my phone number or whatever.
You want to take mine and then transfer?
Yeah, because I'm using my phone right now to connect to YouTube to do a live stream. So if you wouldn't mind doing that one,
That'd be great.
all right.
How long roughly?
Should be about an hour. Okay. Okay. All right.
Mike.
Mark.
Mark. Yeah.
Nice to
Mark,
meet
what was
you.
last name?
Galette.
You work for NASA?
I'm an ambassador for NASA.
Oh, okay.
I actually teach at Valencia.
Where?
Valencia College.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, I used to teach astronomy in part of Earth science class.
Okay.
In middle school.
Okay.
I've done some things where I taught PD classes for teachers.
Okay.
For
Oh,
elementary
okay.
teachers
Yeah.
to do it in the space program. So,
Okay.
a lot of people don't have any idea about the Mercury, Gemini, Apollo stuff
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
And
Okay.
I teach some of that. But,
Sure. Okay.
and anyway. So,
All right. Well, thank Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I see that there are still a few people in the back collecting some free NASA swag, which is awesome. If you've not had the opportunity to do that, please feel free at the end to stop by the table and pick up whatever you'd like. But it is 1:30, and so I'd like to go ahead and get started. So let me introduce myself. My name is Mark Galette, and I'm an ambassador for NASA. I've been doing this for about 7 years. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, good. All right. So when I'm not doing this, I'm very busy doing all other kinds of things, but I do have a full-time job, and my full-time job takes place not too far from here. I'm a sociology professor at Valencia College at the Osceola and the Poinciana campuses. So one campus is literally right down the road. Been teaching there for about 30 years. But on the side, I do have lots of hobbies or things that I'm interested in, just like all of you, I'm sure, have. And one of them happens to be NASA and space exploration. And so, like I said, for about 7 years now, I've been working with NASA. I get training through them, and I go out into the community and the public, and I tell everyone some of the things that are happening in NASA. There are certainly lots of things that are happening, and you will see in just a moment that I've narrowed it down to just a few things because we only have about an hour here together. So with that said, let's take a look at the agenda that I've put together for us. Here are the few things I'd like to talk about. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the International Space Station. And if you watch the news, you know that there's something quite interesting happening right now when it comes to the ISS. So we'll talk about that, what's going on. I want to talk about the next big thing that's happening, and of course, that's our return to the moon with the Artemis program. That's only coming up in the next few weeks, Artemis 2. So we'll talk about our return to the moon. We're following it up with the Perseverance Mars rover and the cool little helicopter that was sent along called Ingenuity. Talk about what the rover's doing and what that little helicopter did. We'll go on and talk about the newest, baddest space telescope, the James Webb. And then we'll follow it up with something that's called NASA Eyes. Has anyone ever heard of NASA Eyes? All right, one person. So if you like doing stuff on the computer, you like space, you're gonna love this. You know, I've kept that until last. And then at the end, we'll have some time for Q&A. And I can tell you right here and right now, I may not have the answer to the question that you might have. And I will be forthright and honest, and I won't make something up. If I don't know, I'm going to simply say, I'm sorry, I don't know, because there's so much to know. There's so many neat things happening at NASA. I can't keep track of all of them. So thank you again so much for coming. And let's go ahead and get started with the International Space Station. The ISS is a collaboration among many countries around the world. It was built back in the 1990s and was first inhabited in the year 2000. So it has had astronaut presence on it for 25 full years now. It's about the size of an American football stadium. It has, it is about 300 miles above the Earth, give or take 50 miles. It's orbiting the Earth every 90 minutes, going 17,500 miles per hour. So they're zooming right along. It only takes them 90 minutes to go around. So they're seeing lots of sunrises and sunsets. Anyone like to sign up to go to the ISS? If you got a few $1 billion, that may happen today. They've been doing lots of scientific research on the ISS over the 25 years. Not only do we have American astronauts aboard, there are also Russian cosmonauts, and there are also people representing other countries like Japan and Canada and other countries. So it's a real international ISS collaboration, which is a wonderful thing. You know, one of the things that I tell my sociology students at Valencia is if you look around, there are a lot of problems in our world, correct? And it's kind of a shame. It's kind of a shame that we can't do a better job of working together with one another, but this is a great example of what humans can do when we come together. We can do big, awesome things. All right? So the lifespan of the ISS is coming to an end. NASA is taking a look at what it needs to do with the ISS, perhaps a little bit later in this decade or early in the 2030s. There are a variety of proposals as to how to discard it because it's getting older. It's requiring quite a bit of maintenance. And there are other programs and projects that are coming about to kind of replace it. So that's something that's on the horizon. It's got a limited lifetime, all right? Has anyone ever heard of spotthestation.nasa.gov, that website? One of you? All right. So if you're interested, you can go to this website, spotthestation.nasa, S-P-A-C-E, spot, S-P-O-T-T-H-E-S-T-A-T-I-O-N, spotthestation.nasa.gov, or just do a Google search for Spot the Station. What you can do is you can put in your location, and it will send you an email when you can walk outside of your dwelling and you can look in a particular direction. It will tell you where to look, how long to look, what direction it will be going, and you will be able to see the ISS with your bare eyes. It will not look like that. It will be a white dot going across the sky. And so some people may go, gee, a white dot going across the sky, who cares? But it's what that white dot is. You have to use your imagination a little bit, but when you think about there being 5, 7, 9 human beings on that white dot traveling at 70,500 miles per hour, that's pretty cool to me. So check it out. It's very detailed in telling you, because when you go outside, there are lots of places that you can look. So it will tell you exactly where to look, what direction it's going to be traveling, and how long it's visible. All right, so check it out. All right, so there's an issue, right? NASA reported that one of the crew 11 astronauts is experiencing some type of medical condition that they describe to not be immediate problem. All right, so they have decided to cut the crew 11 mission short and return them home. They weren't supposed to return home until March. And so they have actually, if you go on nasa.gov, if you've not been on their website, on our website, check it out, lots of good stuff. They've already started the process, and they are expected to return home early tomorrow morning. All right. They haven't released the name of the astronaut for confidentiality reasons. We don't know what the specific issue is, who the person is, for their privacy and for their protection. But we do know that there seems to be something serious enough that causes them to feel like that astronaut needs to come home. But it's not a critical emergency right here, right now. The next crew is scheduled to go up on February the 15th. They're supposed to launch from Kennedy Space Center on a Falcon 9 rocket. And so those will be the replacements for the ones that are coming back at the moment, coming back early this morning, tomorrow morning. All right, on the right-hand side, you see the patch. NASA loves patches, and they create a patch for everything, every mission. And so it's kind of cool because there's a lot of symbolism within NASA. And so this happens to be the patch for what they call Expedition 74. All right, and if you want to see all the different patches for all of the 74 different missions to the ISS, go on Wikipedia, look up mission patches for the ISS, and you can see all of them over the last 25 years. All right. All right, so that's a little information about the International Space Station. The next big thing is the Artemis program. Now, of course, back in the 1960s and early 1970s, NASA had the Apollo program, and that was our first venture to the moon. Artemis is the twin sister of Apollo, and so that's where the name kind of came from. And on the right-hand side of the screen, you see a picture that I was fortunate enough to take before the Artemis 1 launch that occurred in November of 2022. It launched from Space Launch Complex 39B at the Kennedy Space Center. It was about a 25-day mission around the moon, no astronauts on board. Splashed down the Orion space capsule. My little thingy wasn't working here earlier. If you hit something enough, it works, right? Well, on the left-hand side, you'll see the Orion space capsule. There we go. Oh, no, there we go. There's the Orion space capsule. That's where the astronauts go. That is right behind this fairing here. This right here is the only thing that returned and splashed down off of San Diego, okay, after that 25-day mission. So right before the launch, I had the opportunity to go out to Kennedy Space Center, do one of the tours, and so that's a picture I took of the SLS, the Space Launch System. That's the name of the vehicle before it was launched, all right? The same configuration, the same type of rocket. I say type because it's not the same rocket. None of this is reusable except for the Orion space capsule. The rest of this is all expendable. But the same type of rocket will be used next month, if all goes well. February the 6th is the current target date for launch, to launch 4 astronauts around the moon. So going back to Artemis 1, when Artemis 1 was launched on November 16, 2022, there were no astronauts on board. It was fully autonomous. And so NASA wanted to test out all the systems without humans on board. Okay, and so I'm going to show you a map of Artemis 2 in a few moments. If you want to see what the flight path was for Artemis 1, I have a diagram back there on the back table so you can see what they did. And Artemis 2 will be different, all right? So let me talk a little bit about the rocket itself. This may look kind of familiar to you, in that if you are familiar with the Space Shuttle program, 1981 to 2011, it had a big orange tank and it had two things, white things on the side, all right? So we have the big orange tank and we have what's called the solid rocket boosters on either side of the big tank. Inside of the orange tank is the fuel, the propellant. We have liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen is what's called the oxidizer. Okay, so those are both inside of, in two different tanks, inside of the orange tank. Okay? You can't see them from this picture, but underneath there are 4 engines, RS-25 engines, which come from the Space Shuttle program. So quite a number of things were taken from the Space Shuttle program and are being used in the Artemis program. The RS-25 engines were supercharged, per se, to handle this extra capacity to lift this beast off of the ground. The Space Shuttle program had 3 of these RS-25 engines. This has 4 of them, okay? But those 4 engines only do about 25% of the lifting necessary to get this out of our atmosphere. Most of the work, 75% of the thrust, comes from those 2 solid rocket boosters that you see on either side. Also come from the shuttle program. The difference is in the shuttle program, they had what's called 4 segments or 4 sections. With this, they added an additional 1, so there are 5 on each side. They do 75% of the lifting, and they will carry the rocket into space for about the first 2 minutes, and then they separate, and then the 4 engines will continue to propel what's left of the rocket into space. Okay? A lot of engineering, a lot of work has gone into creating this rocket. Okay, so again on the left-hand side, you have the Orion spacecraft. It will accommodate 4 astronauts, all right? And then right immediately below that, where you see the word NASA, is where some of the equipment, computers will be, and also on this Artemis 2 launch that's happening next month, there are going to be several what's called CubeSats. Anyone ever heard of CubeSats? They're satellites, but they're really small satellites. Some of them can be like the size of a microwave oven, compared to, let's say, the Hubble Space Telescope that we're talking about a little bit later. That's the size of a school bus. That's kind of like a satellite. These are really super small, all right? Technology is getting better, so we can shrink down the size of the hardware needed to do the type of research, the scientific research that NASA is looking to do. So those will be launched on Artemis 2, okay? That part of the rocket was actually made by the European Space Agency, okay? So again, we're looking at some international collaborators. We're not doing this on our own, per se, as we did back in the 60s and 70s with the Apollo program. We're getting other countries to kind of jump on board and to help us. One reason is because of cost. It's very expensive to do this kind of stuff, so they're jumping in and being involved. So if you ever look closely at some of the stickers that might appear on anywhere on the craft, you may not be able to see it very well. Right below where it says NASA up there, you will see ESA, European Space Agency. Okay. The large orange tank is produced by Boeing. The Orion spacecraft on the left-hand side, which again is at the top of the rocket, but it's covered by a fairing, is produced by Lockheed Martin. Okay. Little information about Artemis 1 and the return of the Orion capsule at that time. If you watch the news, you may have caught some information that NASA was a little concerned about how the heat shield held up when the Orion spacecraft came back again at the end of the Artemis 1 mission. So they did all kinds of testing and research and observations, and there was some talk about maybe having to completely redo the thermal heat system. You have this thing coming back into our atmosphere going 24,500 miles per hour. And so it builds up a lot of heat, and you need to get that heat away from the spacecraft, not to fry the astronauts. And so there was talk that they may have to totally redo it, but the engineers looked at the numbers and the figures and said, hey, what we can do is we can change how we return to Earth. In other words, instead of coming in like this, we're going to come in like this, more gradually, which the heat won't build up quite as fast. So that's what they have decided to do. All right, and that was kind of the biggest problem that they discovered for the Artemis 1 mission. Okay, there were a few other issues, but that was kind of the big issue. So with that problem resolved, with the astronauts chosen, I'll come back to that one in a moment, with the astronauts chosen that are going on Artemis 2, it's time to go. The fully stacked SLS rocket that I was just showing you will be rolling out of the vehicle assembly building at Kennedy Space Center within the next 2 months, 2 weeks, I'm sorry. Of course, everything is tentative to change, but that's the plan right now. They're going to go through what's called a wet dress rehearsal, kind of putting the spacecraft through some on-ground testing to make sure everything seems to be in working condition. And then they load up 3 Americans, the 3 people on the right-hand side, 1 Canadian on the left-hand side, into the Orion space capsule. They launch from Kennedy Space Center. So all you have to do is walk out your door and look to the east, and you will see the beast, unless it's a cloudy day, rising over to the east. Should be pretty cool. So again, the Artemis 1 flight path you can take a look at there, and one thing that you're going to notice is that they orbited the moon a couple times during that non-crewed mission. Notice here, they're not even orbiting the moon. They're only going to do a flyby of the moon. Okay? It is a 10-day mission. It's planned to be a 10-day mission. There are lots of objectives. What's the major objective in Artemis 2? Now we've got human beings in the Orion capsule, and they want to see how all of these systems that have been put together work with human controlling. Rather than Artemis 1, it was all autonomous. It was all done remotely, per se. Okay? After the 10-day mission comes to an end, just like Artemis 1, they're going to splash down just that Orion capsule off of the coast of San Diego. Okay, so no landing on the moon, no orbiting the moon, but they will fly by the moon. And in fact, when they fly by the moon, it will create a new record. And the new record is, it will be the furthest human beings have ever been from planet Earth. Because when the Apollo astronauts flew around the moon, they were actually much closer to the moon than these 4 people that I showed you a moment ago will be. They're going to be further away. And the way I've heard it described is if you take a basketball and you hold it out away from you like this, that's about how big the moon will look to them. Okay, so they are going to be further out. So they're going to be further than any humans have ever traveled away from planet Earth, our home. Lots of science objectives, lots of things that they're going to be doing. Provided that everything goes well, and we're going to hope that it does. When they come back home, all eyes turn to Artemis 3. And I don't have the flight path for that, but of course the main objective of Artemis 3 will be just like Apollo 11, landing on the moon. Now, if you keep up with the news, you may know that NASA has lots of contractors that it works with. Boeing to create the tank that I showed you, Lockheed Martin to create the Orion capsule. Well, they contracted with 2 companies, SpaceX and Boeing, to, just lost my train of thought here, to shuttle astronauts back and forth to the ISS, but also, I've completely lost my train of thought. Where was I going with this? Artemis 3. So they have contracted with 2 companies to build the landers. Okay, SpaceX and Blue Origin. All right. SpaceX is having some issues. Okay, they have what's called their Starship. And the Starship is going to be used for a variety of reasons, one being landing humans on the moon. And though they're doing lots of testing out in Texas, Boca Chica, they're falling behind the schedule that they thought that they would be up to. And so now NASA, actually the new administrator, just recently announced that whoever is ready to go, that's the lander that's going to be used. So it could be Blue Origin. So we're seeing, time will tell. Timeline, well, you know, they're saying 2028, 2027. I'm thinking not. I'm thinking not. These things tend to slip in time, but hopefully before the end of the decade, okay, which is only a few years away, we're going to land 2 astronauts on the moon. It's going to be a little different than back in the Apollo era, because if you look at the moon and you look at the landing sites for the Apollo missions, they were basically all somewhere close to the equator of the moon. With the Artemis program, it's going to be the South Pole. Why the difference? Well, water. Water, of course, for the humans there, and also it can be turned into fuel. All right, so there are going to be some differences between the Apollo program landing on the moon and the Artemis program landing on the moon. So lots of neat, cool things going on. So keep up with what's happening and take a look out your window or go outside and you should be able to see the launch. Anyone ever actually go to Kennedy Space Center to see a launch up close? A few of you. Cool stuff. Oh my. Oh my. I've lived here. I was born and raised here in Orlando. I've always had an interest in this stuff, but never had the opportunity to go out and see a launch. But now that I'm part of this program, I have been invited by NASA a couple times to go see launches. And so my most recent one was a year ago, June, where I was invited to see a Falcon Heavy SpaceX rocket launch a weather satellite for NOAA and NASA. I was at the press site, which is about 3 miles from the 39A pad that SpaceX launches, as close as you can get. It was a clear, beautiful day, and it launched, and I'm like, absolutely one of the neatest, coolest things I have ever experienced in my life. If you have any interest in this whatsoever, I highly recommend that you consider at least going out toward the Cape somewhere, Titusville, checking it out. You could also go to the Kennedy Space Space Center visitor complex where they will sell you a ticket and take you to, let's say, the Saturn V Center, if you're familiar with that. So you're about 3.5, 4 miles from that. Second best place I think you can see it. Awesome, awesome experience. I cannot say enough good about it. If you're into this kind of stuff, it's something you really, really want to consider experiencing on your own. It's very different than seeing a video of it. So check it out. I have a YouTube channel that I'll talk about a little bit later. I have some little slips in the back of my YouTube channel. I am hopefully still doing a live stream of this event. Looks like it. So whoever's there, hello. But check out my YouTube channel, and I took some video of that launch, and I did a pretty good job, I think, of doing that. Not only that, the two boosters on the side, both returned, and I got video of that coming back. So check it out. It was really, really cool. All right. Here are the current launch windows. And so again, I mentioned earlier, it looks like the first one is opening up on Thursday, or is that Friday? Thursday or Friday, February 6th, 9:41 p.m. It's almost a 4-hour launch. No, it's a 2-hour launch window. So if they can't get it off within 2 hours of that time, then they'll scrub it. And based on why it was scrubbed, they may or may not try the next time and the next time. And so these are, and of course, this is always dependent on the weather, which can kind of mess things up. So, yeah. Hopefully we'll get it off the ground pretty soon, provided that everything is ready to go. Because we definitely, the number one priority for NASA is safety. So if they detect a problem and they feel like they need time to fix it, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to take that thing, they're going to roll it back to the VAB, and they're going to spend a day, a week, a month, or whatever it takes to fix it. Because we do not want to lose astronauts.
So many of them are middle of the night.
Yes.
There's one at 6:06 p.m. and that's about the only one I see there that's.
Yeah, so it's all based on trajectory and where they need to, what time they need to launch to get to where they need to be, and so on and so forth. So it's not just people sitting around a room going, "Hey, let's try at 5:59." There are very specific reasons why these times. And to tell you the truth, I've seen both day and night launches. I personally like the day launches better. A lot of people like the night launches better because at night you just see this big ball going up in the sky. Now, if you're at a distance, if you're not there, maybe that might be a better view of it at nighttime. But if you're there watching it, for me personally, I like the day launches better.
From our backyard, he's got the app, and from our backyard, we can see it go if it's not too cloudy, and we can actually see it going up.
Yes, yeah. So I live in Davenport, not far from here. I open my garage door and I just stand there and I can see all the Falcon 9 rockets going up and everything. Close the garage door, go back to do what I was doing. Definitely one of the benefits, if you like this stuff, of living in Central Florida, because most people don't get to open their front door, open their garage door, look at a rocket launch and go back to what they were doing a couple of minutes ago. So, yeah, cool stuff. All right, the next thing that I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about is the Perseverance rover. It was originally called Mars 2020, but there was a contest and there was a young man, I don't know, middle school, high school student that ended up getting the opportunity to name it. And so it was named Perseverance on the left-hand side. It's about the size of a relatively small vehicle. It launched from Cape Canaveral. So you've got Kennedy Space Center, which has 2 launch pads, 39A, which is leased to SpaceX, 39B, which is being used for the Artemis program. But there are lots of other launches and launch pads that take place from that area, and those are at Cape Canaveral, all right? And so it was launched from Cape Canaveral on July 30th, 2020. And you can see that it took a little bit of time to get there. Okay, it takes a few months to get from here to there. Again, these dates are chosen very specifically because if the Earth is here and Mars is over here, then you don't want to launch because it's going to take a lot more fuel and time to get you there. And what I'm doing here doesn't really represent the reality of it, but to be simple about this, you want, in my example, the Mars here and Earth here. So you're cutting down the amount of time and energy, the fuel that it takes to get there. Regardless, it's still going to take quite a number of months to get there. And in fact, you can see how long it took to get there. When we go to Mars, that's the next goal for NASA. Where do we go after the moon? Well, we go to Mars. We're going to be using the same Space Launch System rocket that I was talking about earlier. That's the plan now. These things can always change. And so it's going to take 9 months. And so what do you do with 4 or 5 astronauts that are in a relatively small area, all things considered, when they're traveling 22,000 miles per hour? It still takes months to get somewhere. And you're not going to just turn around and come right back. So you're looking at like a 3-year mission. So there's a lot of issues that need to be worked through in order to pull off that venture to Mars. But we are able to send spacecraft and rovers. And so this rover has been traveling around now for quite some time. Go on nasa.gov and you can actually see the path where it's traveled. One of the major objectives is looking for signs of life. No, not the little green people with the antennas, but some type of microbial life, past or current, probably past. Okay? Mars lost its atmosphere, so life as we know it probably wouldn't be able to survive very long there. Maybe be, kind of down deep, but they're primarily looking for evidence of past life. Okay? Now, I don't know about you, but each day I see the headlines, I see all kinds of things, and some things are big and some things are small. But I can only imagine the day when I look at the headlines and it says, life discovered, you fill in the blank. Right? I can't think of any bigger news, personally. I mean, that is going to change everything about how we look not only at the universe, but at the earth and at life itself. And I think it's coming. I look to a brilliant scientist, Stephen Hawking, that passed away a number of years ago. When asked the question, is there life out there? His answer was absolutely, positively, yes, it's out there. He did go on to say that we probably don't want that life coming to visit us, because if it comes to visit us, that automatically means that it has a lot more technology than what we do, because they got to us before we got to them. And that creates a whole nother issue. But with that aside, it changes everything. And so to me, it doesn't matter if we do find little green people somewhere, or some little amoeba that lives in some water or some liquid substance. Life is life. And so that changes the equation. So, so that's one of many things that the rover is doing. How many of you are aware that JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, they were responsible for building this and also operating it. They decided, some of these smart engineers said, hey, we're going to throw together a relatively inexpensive, small helicopter. We're going to send it along. We're not sure that it's going to do anything, but dare to believe big things. Try it. That's what I'm always encouraging my students to do. Too many people today, from my opinion, are sitting on the sidelines watching life rather than participating in life. And I don't think life is a spectator sport. Okay? My students, research shows that young people today are spending 6 to 8 hours every single day on these things. Sitting, playing games, social media, and I tell them again and again, number one, you're destroying your brain. Okay? You can spend some time doing everything in moderation, but when you spend 6 to 8 hours a day, you got a problem. You need some help. But life is out there. Life is not inside of your phone. So these people were thinking outside the box, and they're like, let's create a helicopter, send it along, and let's see what's going to happen. Okay? Is anything going to happen? I don't know if any of you have seen this video, but I want to show it to you. This is actual video that was taken. Now, the video camera was mounted on the Perseverance rover because the helicopter was attached underneath of it. And when they landed the Perseverance rover, the helicopter detached and then the rover drove away. So the rover has the camera looking to, you can see it at the bottom, the little helicopter. And this is actual video that was taken. This is not AI. This is the actual video that was taken. And this is the first flight of a rotorcraft on a different body other than Earth that we're aware of. You know, maybe those green aliens, there it goes. Maybe they have helicopters, but that we're aware of, and there it goes. So didn't go very high, didn't go anywhere, just went up, went down. It was only up for, you can see it's going to come right down, only up for 30, 40, 45 seconds, a minute. It's going to come right back down. Oh, and they're like, okay, wow, it worked better than we thought it was. And so what's the issue? They're like, well, you know, if it's a rotorcraft, if it's like a helicopter type thing, we can fly those all the time. Kids have the small ones and everything. Well, Mars doesn't have an atmosphere. And in atmosphere, I have my pilot's license. As a pilot, I know that my wings need something to grab onto, the atmosphere, the air. And when you don't have that, there's nothing to grab onto. How are you going to stay in the air? Well, they designed this so that it goes fast enough and the angle of the blades was sufficient enough to actually get this thing to fly. And it worked. It worked better than they thought it was. So they continued experimenting. They went higher, they went further, higher, longer. They were able to do over 70 flights. They never ever thought that they would be able to pull it off. They were only looking for just a few. And they were hoping it just wouldn't fall out of the sky and break into pieces. And so it worked much, much better than they thought it would. So now, with future missions like rovers on Mars, they're going to include these so that they can kind of go wherever the rover is planning to go and kind of see what's going on. Oh, there's a big hole there that we didn't see. Let's avoid that because this is millions of miles away, this rover. And so even though you have geniuses that are operating this, there are only so many things they can do. And if they get into some type of a mess, they're stuck and you can't just call Roto-Rooter that's going to go unplug it. Now, you're kind of you're in a mess. So that can help out with things like that. Okay, get a much better perspective from up above. So really neat. I love really smart people. My students like Kim Kardashian and these kinds of people. And I'm like, no, I like smart people like Stephen Hawking and Neil deGrasse Tyson. These are the people that I love. These are my heroes. And a lot of these people work for NASA. And we're very fortunate to have people that do this important work. This needs no explanation. All right. Doing pretty good on time, I believe. James Webb Space Telescope. So, you're all familiar with the Hubble Space Telescope. It was launched back in the 1990s. It went aboard one of the space shuttles, 200, 300 miles above the Earth, just like the ISS. Orbits every 90 minutes, goes over 17,000 miles per hour. It's been the workhorse of space astronomy for a long time. Why put basically a telescope in space rather than building it on Earth? Well, I was talking about the atmosphere earlier. When those astronauts are coming back on the on the Artemis 2 mission, they're going to be coming through the atmosphere. The atmosphere is necessary for us to live and breathe and live, but when it comes to being able to look at what's happening out in the universe, it creates distortion. So if we can get above that, outside of the atmosphere, we have a much better view. Now, we do have ground-based telescopes. I had the opportunity a few years to go to the South American country of Chile, where they have some of the biggest, baddest ground-based telescopes in the world. And they do a very, very good job of looking out in the universe, but they still are dealing with the atmosphere. So they picked Chile, the northern part of Chile, in the what's called the Atacama Desert, because it's very dry and there's not very much light pollution. Both cause problems for seeing what's going on out there. But if you can get it out in space, you don't have to deal with the atmosphere. So that's why we have things like the Hubble and James Webb. So 1995, I believe, is the day or the year that Hubble was launched. It's been doing lots of work. Most of the pictures that you and I have seen through many years, if you see NASA and you see a picture of a star cluster or a nebula or something like that, it's probably coming from Hubble. It was outdated. And so actually not long after Hubble was launched, scientists started creating the next big bad telescope, space-based telescope. And that ended up being called the James Webb after one of the administrators of NASA. I believe he was the second one. Well, this one is quite a bit different than Hubble for a few reasons. Number one, Hubble, again, 250, 350 miles above the Earth. So it's orbiting the Earth. Again, there are websites and apps that you can get where you can track satellites. And so you can actually go out, and much like the ISS, you can see a little white dot go across the sky, and that's going to be the Hubble. It's not going to look like what you think of as the Hubble. It's a little white dot, okay? Webb is a long ways away from Earth. It's roughly about 1 million miles from us. Okay. So why did we put Hubble 200, 350 miles away from Earth, but we needed to put James Webb 1 million miles away? Anybody know? All right. Well, James Webb is using infrared. And with infrared technology and with photography, you don't want light and you don't want heat. And the Earth actually radiates heat. So if we were to launch James Webb 200, 350 miles right above the Earth, there would be too much heat generated and the instruments would not work the way that they need to work. So the scientists said, okay, we got to come up with a great place to park this thing where the heat and the light won't disturb it. It's going to be in very cold conditions, and it's going to be protected from the sun. And so it's currently in what's called the Lagrange point 2. And for simplistic reasons, it's just a really nice place to have a telescope. Well, how did it get there? Well, this telescope is about the size of a tennis court, whereas Hubble is about the size of a small bus. They were able to put Hubble into the cargo bay of one of the space shuttles when it was launched. This would never have fit in there, and it certainly opened, assembled, would not fit on a rocket. That looked very bizarre. So when they designed it and built it, they had to build it in a way, if you look in the far left-hand corner here, just to the right of Earth, it had to be all folded up. You had to fold it up, build it, fold it up, put it on a rocket, launch it, and then they had to open it up. Oh boy. Oh boy. So many opportunities for things to go wrong. There were over 200 checkpoints, 200 points that if one thing didn't work right, one little motor didn't work, or something got caught, the whole thing is basically useless. Years and years of people's work. I think it was, don't quote me on this, I think $5 billion? I'm not sure, I think it was. All gone. Dare to do great things. If you want great things, you've got to do risky things. They built it, they engineered it, they built it, They folded it up. They put it on the top of an Ariane 5 rocket. This is a collaboration with the European Space Agency and the Canadian Space Agency. Europe's contribution was the launch of it. So they put it on one of their rockets in French Guiana, down in South America. They launched it on Christmas morning, 2022. It took 1 month to get from there to its new home, the Lagrange Point 2. On the road, getting there, they had to open it up. And so you can see the process. It starts in the top left-hand corner, it goes around to the right, and then it comes over here to the left. And here in the bottom left-hand corner is it fully open, fully unfolded. Okay? You can see on the main mirror, it looks gold in color. In fact, there's a very, very thin layer of gold. There's real gold. Okay? The mirror is actually in the 3 different pieces. Okay? You have the middle section and 2 side sections that had to open up and click into place. You have the sun shield, which is at the bottom. So the sun shield, the whole mirror has to be completely hidden from the sun. And so that's what that sun shield did. There are 5 layers that are about the thickness of one of our hairs. And you know how easy it is to tear something like that? I mean, you have something that thin, if you look at it wrong, it tears. Here, they have designed and built it, put it in a rocket, shake all the vibrations from the launch, get it out in the space, and you're supposed to take this, that if you look at it wrong, it's going to tear, and open it up, and it all supposed to work. It did. It worked perfectly. It actually worked better than they anticipated that it would work. Got it all unfolded. They started the science. It took 30 days to get it there and to go through this process. They had a few months to kind of test the systems, and then they started working on the science. On the left-hand side of the screen is what's called the deep field. Now, if you follow NASA and all this stuff, the Hubble Space Telescope did a deep field image. And basically, they did the same portion of the sky with James Webb, and they are comparing it. So basically, if you hold your finger out like this, that's the tip of my finger represents what you're looking at there in the sky. Okay? You are looking at what NASA estimates to be over 10,000 galaxies. Did you hear what I just said? Now, you see the things with the spikes, like the big white one in the middle? There's one there, there's one here, there's one here. There's about maybe 8 or 9 of them. Those are all stars within our Milky Way galaxy, so ignore those. Everything else you see up there is a galaxy, like our own Milky Way galaxy. In what NASA thought was a very obscure part of the sky, they went, well, it doesn't look like there's much going on over here. We see a lot going on over here, but it looks like there's nothing there. Let's take some images of this. And that's what they got. Now, if you know anything about astrophotography, I've done some astrophotography. It's all about, you don't just point a camera at something and snap one picture and bang, there you go. It's all about collecting light. So you have to take a whole bunch of pictures, and then you use like software to pull out the light from each of the pictures until they went through all that. And this is what you get. So who knows? Maybe there may not be the green creatures walking around Mars, but maybe in this galaxy, around one of these stars is a planet that's in the Goldilocks zone, as we call it, the right temperature, has maybe water, because we believe that water is necessary for life, are little green things walking around with antennas. Who knows? This is why I like this stuff, because it gets me thinking. We get stuck in our own little worlds, don't we? And we are just a tiny little speck on a tiny little planet in a normal little universe, Milky Way galaxy, what a normal star, our star, there's nothing special about it. It's halfway through its 10 billion year life. Nothing significantly important about it, just a star. Here we are living our little lives, and what could be going on out there? The James Webb Space Telescope is run out of the Space Telescope Science Institute in Maryland. Just like JPL runs the Mars rover programs, this is where this particular project is run out of. All right, I've got a few minutes, and I want to show you what's called NASA Eyes. This is really cool, and I think you're going to like this. It's a web-based, let's see, NASA Eyes. It's a web-based tool. So if you go to, just do a search, nasaeyes.com, whatever. There are different, NASA has eyes on different things, but I want to show you eyes on the solar system. Maybe I don't. There we go. All right. What we are looking at is this is our home. Okay, we have 8 planets. We have our sun, and so you can see in real time where everything is when it comes to the planets and the moons. So many other things I have not talked about regarding NASA. So many cool projects. There's the Europa Clipper mission. Has anyone heard of that? Actually, scientists believe that if we find life in our own little system here, it's not going to be on the moon. It's probably not going to be on Mars. It's probably going to be on one of the moons of Jupiter or Saturn. And so there's a spacecraft headed to Jupiter right now. It was launched not too long ago. It's going to take about 6 years to get there. Europa Clipper. I've got some little stickers there in the back. So if you've not visited the table, make sure you do so before you leave. And it's actually going to be in orbit around Jupiter, not the moon, Europa. That's what the spacecraft is named after, because of the amount of radiation that Jupiter puts out. It would fry all the instruments. So we don't need to worry about that at the moment, but it's a ice moon. And there are plumes of steam coming off of this moon, which tells scientists there's something going on below. There's something that's heating up the water that's causing it to melt and to go out. What's going on below? So we're going to do some testing. It's not going to land. It's going to do some flybys and collect some samples and so on and so forth. So, but here's where everything is. Now, if you'd like to learn about a particular mission that you know about, you can simply, let's say you want to look for, where is the search? All right, so I've talked about Hubble quite a bit. Type in Hubble. It will bring up a view of Hubble, what it looks like, tell you all about it, and it shows you in real time where it is. And if you want to see where it was a year ago, you back it up. If you want to see where it's going to be in a year, you move it forward. And you can do this with all of the things that are out there. Things like the Voyagers that were launched in 1977 that are way, way, way out there. It takes a day to communicate with them. You can see exactly where they are, move them forward in time, move them backwards in time. It's really, really, really cool. So check out NASA Eyes. I think you'll like it. All right. So, as I mentioned earlier, I do have a YouTube channel. So if you would like, You can scan that with your phone and it'll take you right to it. I have slips in the back that you can scan or type in the address. You can go to YouTube, type in my first and last name, Mark Gillette. Check it out. Not only do I have lots and lots of videos about space and NASA and launches, like the one I mentioned earlier, I'm also an avid traveler. I've been very fortunate to travel to around 80 countries all over the world, every continent, including Antarctica. I've got lots of hobbies. I build and launch high-powered rockets. I jump off buildings and skydiving and drive trucks. And I try to practice what I tell my students, what I talked about earlier. You got to live life. You got to try things. You can't be afraid of it. So I lived up to that, and I go out. So I've got all kinds of, I could keep you busy for many, many months if you check out those videos. So, but I do have the NASA-related stuff in the NASA playlist. So check that out. All right, so we have a few minutes. Again, I did mention earlier, I may not have the answer, but does anyone have any questions?
Voyager's still working?
Well, they're at limited capacity. They are at limited capacity. Each Voyager had something like a total of, don't quote me on this, 12, 13 instruments. And as they are losing their power, NASA has decided that it has to shut things down in order to get the most benefit out of what juice is still left in it to keep it moving forward. So if you go on the NASA's website and you type one in, it will tell you, because each one is different, Voyager 1, Voyager 2, it will tell you of the instruments that it started out with, which ones are shut down and which ones are operating. But they are still moving, both of them are still moving along. There have been a couple incidents. There was one not too long ago, I think it was last year or the year before, where they thought they had lost one. I don't remember which one it was. They were able to recover it. And it takes, to tell you how far away they are, it takes a full day to communicate, to send messages from NASA's Deep Space Network to the craft, and then a day for the information to come back. They're both in interstellar space. They're leaving our Milky Way galaxy and going, so we can do great things when we want to as humans. And that is certainly a testament to that.
You mentioned that Perseverance had collected samples that could have evidence of life. Did Congress not cancel the Mars sample recovery?
Okay, so I've been asked by NASA not to talk about politics and funding. So what I can do, I don't have it on. I have my badge over there. What I can do is I can take that badge off, like I already apparently have taken it off. I can cover this and say, I am now a private citizen and give you my thoughts about it. And that is, do you know out of $1, hypothetically you have $1 that we pay in taxes. Does anyone know how much money NASA gets out of that $1? A half a penny. Congress, the current administration and Congress, proposed a 25% cut to NASA's budget. And it's in different ways. They wanted to cut, like the science directorate, as it's called, more than da-da-da-da. That's catastrophic to an organization. Congress just recently has decided that they do not want to cut NASA's budget that extreme. But we'll see how that all plays through. I think that's the best half a penny that comes from my tax money.
Right.
But that's my opinion. That's my opinion, not NASA's opinion. They have a whole different way of handling this.
Is NASA using any rockets over like SpaceX does?
Are they reusing them? Good question. So like with the shuttle program, you know, you had those two white solid rocket boosters that I said did 75% of the work. They actually would recover them once they separated from the core stage, refurbish them and reuse them. That's not possible with the new rocket. They're not doing that, nor are they able to reuse the main core. So the answer, the short answer is no. They're not able to reuse things the way that SpaceX is going about doing this, which is one of the big complaints among people that have issues with NASA and the Space Launch System, that it is not really reusable. SpaceX with their Starship, which is the big rocket that's coming here soon, and the Falcon 9 and the Falcon Heavy, the boosters come back. They reuse most of it, the fairings. That reduces cost. You can't rent a bus to go down to Miami, and then when you get there, throw the bus away. So, no.
So what percentage of the equipment that's used for these launches is recyclable, reused?
Yeah, so the launch platform where they put the rocket on, of course, that's reusable. The Orion spacecraft where the astronauts are, that can be reused. The tanks aren't, the solid rocket boosters aren't. I don't think they even have the fairings that cover up the Orion. I don't think NASA has been, so not a lot. Things, hardware used to support the launch, but not the rocket itself.
Is there a program to clean up all the debris in space?
There's a lot of talk about it. So yeah, they're talking about it. There's a lot of time. And you imagine just more and more stuff is going up there all the time. I mean, literally there's like a launch every few days, which is pretty incredible. But yeah, we're building up the trash up there.
So that's space garbage.
Yes.
Is it proprietary to each country? So we can't get rid of China's space garbage?
It becomes tricky when we start dealing with politics and this stuff, doesn't it? We're in a new space race. Honestly, I think it's kind of sad that we have to get into a race to do these things. I would hope that as humans, we would have the intellectual curiosity to want to do big things, to learn about what's going on out there, and not have to be threatened by another group of people that they're going to do it before we do. I think that's the wrong way to go about doing this, but that seems to be, and so for me, whatever it takes, let's go. If this is what it takes, let's do this. I like this idea of working with other countries. It spreads out the costs. You take their brightest people, you combine them with our brightest people, we can do big things. But we humans have a lot of issues. As a sociology professor for many, many years, I'm sure you already know this, but by God, we have a lot of issues. We need to do some work. Any other questions, anything? Yep.
How close are we to landing a man on Mars?
Probably no time soon. So many challenges. As I talked about earlier, you're looking at 9 months probably to get there. You can't just turn around, come back 9 months, 18 months. You're going to have to stay there for a period of time waiting for the plans to line up. We haven't even lived on a body outside of Earth for a period, more than a period of just a few days when the astronauts went to Moon back in the 60s and 70s. They only stayed for a couple days, 3 days at most, I believe. So how are we going to do this? There's a lack of funding. There's a lack of enthusiasm. There's a lack of intellectual curiosity. And so when you have all of these lacks and not enough of the opposite, there's no motivation. Once the Chinese or the Russians say we're going to Mars, then the funding will go up, the motivation will go up, the intellectual curiosity will go up. But probably no time soon, would be my guess. NASA's saying the 2030s.
When you talk about months to get to Mars and back, just think about what's going on right now with the Artemis 2. 4 people for 10 days in something smaller than your SUV. That's
Yes.
your bathroom, your bedroom, your workstation. How are they going to do that? And how are they going to do that to go for 3 years at a time back and forth?
And plus, when they get there, they have to have some place to live when they get there and produce water. So have to create the habitats, and have vehicles that will, and that's what Musk is after, Elon Musk. With Starship, his big plans are to load these with all kinds of stuff, launch them to Mars. They will all set themselves up by some mysterious process, and then he's going to load up these starships with astronauts or people. They're going to go there, and everything will be set up, and all of a sudden we're going to be living there. He's done some pretty incredible, I think he's crazy, but he's done some pretty incredible things. If he can pull that one off, we'll see. But it would be cool. Would anyone go to Mars? If you had the opportunity, would you go? I see just one or two. How about to the moon? If anyone? Yeah. I'd go to the moon. Mars, I'm thinking one way. Too many things have to go right to get there, stay there, and come back. Or go to the moon. Space station. Well, yeah, and so there's going to be private space stations coming on board pretty soon. And so I was just talking to someone right before the presentation that there's a company, I think, that's already selling rooms on their private space station that's coming about in so many years, $400,000 a day. Like, oh, I'll take a week. It's all coming. It's all, it's things are moving. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming, spend some time with me. I will be back on Wednesday, February the 25th at 2 o'clock, and I will be spending an hour talking to whoever would like to come about the Artemis program specifically. I'll be getting into more detail about the SLS rocket and all the things that go into the program. So if you're available, I'd love to see you back. Before you leave, if you are interested, I would love to take a picture of the group. NASA has extremely strict guidelines about photography. I have a gentleman in the back of the room, Mike, who took a few pictures. You may or may not have seen him moving around, but he didn't take a picture with anyone's face showing. In order to be able to see a face, I have a waiver form that I have to have you fill out. But for anyone who's interested, if you wouldn't mind filling out the waiver form, and we can get a shot up here of whoever wants to be in it, I submit that to NASA, and NASA sometimes will use different events that the ambassadors will do to put it on their promotional pieces, send them to NASA headquarters, and who knows, you may end up on the NASA website or something. I can't guarantee it, but that's what they do. So if you're interested, I've got the waiver forms here. I don't need a full, ask for your address, your full, I don't need your full, I don't need all, just, 123 Main Street, and just sign and date it, and then hang out here. If you haven't gotten a NASA sticker, get one, and maybe we can all hold our NASA sticker, and someone who doesn't want to be in the picture could take the picture. If you don't want to do that, no problem. Thanks for coming. Hope to see you back February 25th. I don't have any pins, so I don't know if anyone has any pins. I didn't bring any.
I want to take that off you.
Okay, good.
All right, this way you don't have to
Yep.
keep saying.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I'm going to put them here. If you have a pen, I don't have one, unfortunately. Just grab one, and then you can stand to the side so others.
I
And
just wanted to say thank you. You're at Valencia, right?
yeah.
Okay, then my endowments are doing something good.
Okay.
My
Good.
wife and I both created endowments.
Okay,
for
great.
Valencia.
Wonderful.
Other things too.
Good.
Yes, I'm
Glad to hear it.
glad to hear you
All right.
and your way of living.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm taking my 8 and 11-year-old granddaughters. Is it a day, a half day, a 2
Kennedy
day?
Space Center. It depends on how much you're into it. I'm going to go ahead
The
and end this.
11-year-old more than the 8-year-old.
So if you're really into it, you could spend easily all day there.
Okay.
Because you go see the Space Shuttle Atlantis, which is on this. Have you been?
30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So,
They
yeah,
have the
it's been
Space Shuttle Atlantis on display,
Okay.
the actual incredible. They have
fun. I used to be able to
movies.
walk in the space station, a replica. Is that still there?
They kind of have that in the Space Shuttle display now.
Okay.
They have a ride. They've got actually a new type of ride. I spend easily a day there. Yeah, they typically open at 9. They close at like 5 or 6. I would plan for the whole day.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You have the rocket garden?
Huh?
The rocket garden?
Yeah. They have the rocket garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See that monster.
All right, bye, people. I'm going to end this. X.